Hello all and welcome back to Season 5 of the FRS. We are here for Round 8 and we are headed to France at the circuit Paul Ricard in Le Castellet. It is the first time that France has been on the FRS calendar in the 5 seasons that it's been around, but let's take a look at the circuit that we are going to be around today. A 5.84 kilometer circuit, 3.6 miles, 15 turns and 2 DRS zones, and you can see standing out pretty significantly the big, long back straight, interrupted by just that little chicane, turns 8 and 9. So big overtaking opportunity there. It's a flat, wide open circuit, so very low opportunity for safety cars. You can see from all the crisscrossing bits of track, there's 167 possible layouts here at Paul Ricard, and the 413 meter long run to turn 1, it is the longest that we see in the FRS season here. So look for some early action in the first corner there. Big opportunity to slipstream. Not a heavy braking zone though, down into turn 1 and 2. There is a DRS run into this first left-right combination. A tiny bit of elevation as you sweep down into turn 1, up over the crest of turn 2. It is a good opportunity to try and get some overtaking done. But after that, you're kind of line astern, single file until you get to the long back straight and then a harder braking zone into turns 8 and 9. The quick left-hander, little bit of a short blast, then harder on the brakes into the right-hander. Just take that long sweeping right before you blast down the second part of the straight. The 3 compounds of tire, the soft, medium, and hard, 1.2 seconds a lap slower on the medium, 1.8 seconds a lap slower on the hard. So depending on the strategy, there is the opportunity for those hards to become in play. Now let's head to the track where we are looking at our first qualifying lap of this session. It's a little bit cloudy. We will take you around the circuit as we come out of the slow final hairpin turn 15, open up the DRS and blast down the front straight along the pit straight there on the right hand side. The exit, you can see where El Gloverino is coming out right now, feeds right on into the track. So braking just about that, split down to 4th gear, pitch it over the hill for turn 1 and 2. Try and get the power down as early as you can on the exit of turn 2. Now about 70 or 60 meters, brake hard down to 4th gear for turns 3 and 4, flip it in all the way down to 2nd, and now try and get the car rotated, ease on the power. Once you feel the back end's gripped up, finish that right-handed sweeper, left-handed kink of turn 7, and then DRS open once again. The best overtaking opportunity. You can see it's long, it's flat, and it's straight. You're looking for the next split in the road to get hard on the brakes, take as much curb as you dare there, hook it over this right-hand curb for turn 9, and then out back onto the straight. That little double kink there, it's not even a corner listed, it's part of the straight. So here we are down to the flat out right-hander of turn 10 where you carry a lot of speed. Now the long turn 11 where you really brake, slow down the car as you continue turning, try and find your acceleration point. Now another long left-hander as you're braking down for turn 12. Turn 13 isn't much of a turn at all. It's just this long right-handed kind of blast, and then you quickly flick it in to turn 14 on the brakes, get the car slowed down, try and hold the left-hand side of the track as you have to rotate then that tight hairpin of turn 15. It's much slower than you think it is. You want to try and get the car down to just over 50 miles an hour. And there we are, crossing the line, going a 130.3 on our first qualifying run as the sun is starting to come out and the track temperatures are warming up. Now we're sitting provisionally 5th as we head out for our second flying lap of the session, and we'll get started and see if we can find some areas to improve. We're looking to target a mid 29 with our lap here. The best drivers are going to be down into the low to mid 28s. A little bit of an adjustment. Car hooked up a little bit too much through turn 1. We've run a little wide on turn 2, but lucky to not invalidate that. We're about half a tenth down on our previous best, but here we are taking the curb much better through turn 4. A little bit more lazy on the rotation through turn 5 and 6 and 7. We're gaining time all the way through there as we get the power down just a little bit earlier, getting the car rotated for that fast set of sweepers. DRS open, we're about a quarter of a second up on our previous best lap time. So we need to try and carry that improvement the rest of the way. That'll get us down near the 1 minute 30 mark even, as gaining a fair bit of time, but a little slower through the second part of the chicane. You can see how much time that's lost us as we're getting back on it. We're now down only about a tenth of a second of improvement. And you can see just losing time down that straight as our minimum speed is definitely compromised through there. So a little bit more smooth on the control, gain a couple thousandths through turn 10. And now really getting the car rotated for turn 11, just kind of holding about station. And we'll see if we can find a little bit more time through turns 12 and 13. 13, not really going to find any time. Turn 14, really try and get the car slowed down so it hugs that left side a little bit better. You can see the big time game a little earlier on the brakes. We actually rumble over that inside apex curbing. That does rob us of a little bit of speed. You want to try and be close to that curb but not touch it. And now we are going to improve by just a tenth and a half. It keeps us provisionally P5 as we do improve in all sectors. But here we are, 1 minute 20 left to go in the session. We've dropped down to provisionally 7th as we head out for our final run of the qualifying session. Now the late start-finish line there, we are a little bit slower on the straight. Looks like we're losing a little bit of time, but we have a much better turn into turn 1 and carry that speed well through turn 2. We've gained about a tenth and a half off of our previous best lap. Now we need to just try and carry that through. We had a decent run through turn 3. Turn 4, we're gaining a little bit more time. Turn 5, though, we've run a little bit deep, and you can see lost a lot of time there. Just not getting the car rotated. The understeer takes us out, and we've lost basically everything that we gained through turn 1 and 2. We are down essentially now just a little bit negative on our delta, or we're over our previous best time. We're behind by about a hundredth or two hundredths of a second off our previous best, but we know there's time to find in the chicane. You can see big improvement through there, and if we had just been able to maintain what we gained in turn 1, turn 2, we'd be close to a half second up on our previous best lap, but instead we're only about a tenth and a half further up, and it's looking like it's going to be tough to crack into the 29, so we need a really good run through the final couple of corners here. We're close to them improving by that 0.2 mark. You can see holding the inside a little better on entry, not quite as quick on exit, but still about 0.2 of improvement as we pitch it into turn 14, get the car rotated, slowed down, try and get a better run through the final corner. We improve on entry, improve on exit, and if we had just held that 0.2 that we had in the first sector, we would have been at a half a second. A 29.857 jumped us at the moment to provisionally 4th. Well, so there are a few more cars on track to finish the session, and we are only dropped by 1 position, so down to 5th overall, with Nemesis taking the pole, MJ Povey in 2nd, Queasy P3, Pepmeister in 4th, ourselves in 5th, Brenchel takes 6th, Hafshan Nick in 7th, El Glaverino 8th, Gallimums 9th, Cameron Slater in 10th, Racer 04 on the grid in 11th. LC Fighter picked up a 5-place grid penalty early in the qualifying session, opted not to set a time so he could have the choice of tires, and Kieran starts from the back. But here we are, 5 red lights up, starting on the soft compounded tire. A little bit of a slow getaway and some wheel spin at the start, so that's put us at the risk of Brenchel, who is just going to cruise on by on the outside. We are going to hold the inside, try and get a nose in there as he's leaving a little bit of space, and we're just trying to keep the car settled in. As you can see, Kieran in the back there, the Red Bull going way off track as we try and tuck into this group here. But Queasy gets a little loose. We have to check up, and that puts us big time at risk from the Ferraris behind. We've got to try and leave space for Housefan Nick on the inside, and Pepmeister is around on the outside, and we're trying to just hold ground. We have Nick on the outside as we come through turn 5 or 6, and we have a big snap over steer through 7, and that robs us of some momentum down the straight. We're using the overtake, holding steady with Habsfan Nick on the outside. We have Kieran on the inside, so we're going to break, try and hold. Then Kieran just turns straight into us and forces us off the inside of the track, and he just jumps straight to the runoff and overtakes us there. So in trying to defend the position, he just rammed us straight off the track and was the first instance of not having any space left. But we slot in. Luckily, we didn't sustain any damage. We have a little bit of a look just to kind of show in his mirrors as he goes wide off the track there through turn 11. Now into turn 12, he has a bit of an oversteer. The back end steps out on him, so we move to the left of him, and he just drives straight and just doesn't give us any room, forces us completely off the track. That allows Cameron Slater to get by us. So twice now, in a matter of just a couple of corners, Kieran just shoves us completely off the track. We have to back out as Cameron Slater's got most of his car ahead, and he's going to go ahead and just take out to the racing line. But that lag there drops him right behind us, and he's just kind of glitching around. So I'm going to try and move to the outside, let him have some space so he doesn't cause any trouble for us. We're just going to tuck in behind, but that's going to put us at the risk of El Gloverino behind. So we need to try and slot in, catch back up to Cameron Slater on this next couple of corners, and hopefully his connection is stabilized to us. And there's not so much lag problem, and we can try and start working our way back up through. Started 5th, and all the way down in 8th after being shoved off the track twice in one lap. So here we are. We get a very good exit compared to Cameron Slater on the overtake button using the slipstream, and we're going to close in, pull out to the inside, and try and make a move past him into the chicane. No DRS this time, but we're on the inside, so we are going to leave him space on the inside, and he just barges us straight off the track. We're going to try and rejoin. He squeezes and just takes away any chance we have of actually rejoining. Now, the racing line in that section takes you away from that line, so I was trying to rejoin where the cars normally are not going to be hugged up against the line, but he hugs up against the line, totally shuts the door on us and gives us no space to try and rejoin, and we are sent right down near the back of the grid now with extremely hot tires. You can see the temperature gauge up there, 106, 108 now on the left rear, and it's real tough to get the tires cooled back down on these soft tires when they're overheated. You can see just how much the car just plows through a corner, understeers. Now we're going to jump ahead, lap 6 of 27. We are nursing these damaged soft tires. We ideally would have liked to try and take them to about lap 7 or 8 and in better condition, but we're losing time to the cars ahead. So we are going to go ahead and opt to come into the pits this lap, as we really aren't able to make any ground. A little foolish moment there as we were checking something else. And the car gets so hard to control with these worn tires. The soft tires just fall to pieces, but we are into the pit lanes. Kieran is in there ahead, as so is El Glaverino. They're going on to the hard tires. We are going on to the mediums. It's a big gamble. We're hoping for a safety car at this point to try and catch us up to the back of the pack and also to help save the tires. It is marginal to get the medium tires to the end. I would definitely need some safety car help in order to keep these tires potentially alive. I did a test in lap 7. I was able to get them to the end with some management. Lap 6 was definitely a gamble in hindsight to go on to the mediums. Probably should have gone for the hard tires. But at this point, I was needing a prayer of any kind to get back into any sort of position in this race. So I was just going to put on the mediums, hope to close the gap as much as I could, so that way I could at least get into the pit window of the cars ahead. But we're jumping ahead now, lap 9, now on to lap 10 as we cross the line. Glaverino has made a mistake out ahead of us, and Housefan Nick, after making his pit stop, is only 4 seconds ahead. So we are right up behind El Glaverino. We've managed to... he had a spin that put him about 3 seconds ahead of us, and we managed to close up those couple of seconds as well as we pick up our first 3-second time penalty from the track limits. But Glaverino carrying a 3-second time penalty of his own, plus a speeding in the pit lane penalty. So here we are now, right up the gearbox of him coming on to the back straight. So DRS open, overtake enabled, and with the slipstream, easy move to just breeze on by him on that straight. And now we are going to just try and set our sights, maybe see if we can close up on Habsfan Nick, although he is running a bit quicker than us and is on a fair bit fresher set of tires on those hards. So the hards definitely doing their job. We're 4 laps into the mediums, usually around 10 laps or so. On the mediums at green flag conditions is when the hard tire starts to become quicker if they're equal age. So 10 laps on the hards and 10 laps on the medium is where the hard starts to become the faster tire. So we've still got a long way to go. We've still got 17 laps left in this race, and we have already been on these tires for 3.5 laps. So definitely some work to still do, and trying to just keep an eye on the temperatures to manage the slippage of that front left tire. That's really the one that's going to put us in the danger zone as this race goes on. But we're trying to just kind of hang with El Glaverino as much as we can, as he is in the DRS of us now, and he's going to try and have a counter attack. But with the time penalty differential that he has, we're just going to try and run with him. Maybe if we don't do too much foolish fighting and only smart moves on each other, we might be able to close up to some of the other cars ahead. But really, the front left of the tire gets punished. You can see it's up to 102 degrees Celsius, which once it hits 105 is when it starts to hit overheat territory. And I can tell by the surface temperature, the number down below that, as I go slightly defensive into the chicane. And El Glaverino really had the measure of me on the brakes for most of it, but I did have very good launches out of this chicane. So as long as I knew what gap to keep in order to defend from him, as we're going to jump up to lap 12 of 27, and we are past Kieran, who is in the pits, retiring from this race after picking up 18 seconds worth of time penalties. So we're able to move up now into 11th place overall. So just knocking on the door of the points, but we are going to need some help if we are going to score some points in this race. Either people are going to have gotten their pit strategy wrong and make a second stop and drop back behind us, or people are going to have to pick up some time penalties. As Habs fan Nick and Golly Mooms are up ahead fighting each other, and we should really be in the fights ahead of them based on our pace that we had in qualifying and what we had overall race pace, I think, possible to us this weekend, but getting binned off in the second lap and being forced to kind of run this dismal strategy put us well outside of where we should be fighting with other cars. I was looking forward to a pretty good race weekend, but 2 laps in a row, got forced off the track 3 times. It's just, no space was really given. We're going to jump ahead now, lap 15 of 27. We're still pretty much as we were between Gloverino and myself. Nick has gotten by Golly Mooms, but now has 3 seconds. But we have a big snap of oversteer, and the back end gets away with from us when we're on power. So that's going to allow Gloverino to not lose time in the one spot that he had been losing time to me pretty much all race. He had been struggling, so he's going to have a little look to the inside, but not going to try and make the move there into the sweeper of turn 11. And that's going to allow him to stay much closer with me throughout this whole final sector as we run a little bit wide over the curbing there. But luckily able to avoid a track limits warning. But you can see now 36% wear on the front left tire, and they're 9 laps old, just about to be 10 laps or so old. And we still have 12 laps left to go in this one. So those of you doing the smart math will realize that that is the danger zone. We are going to likely get over that 75% mark and just kind of hope and pray. It's not guaranteed that you'll have a puncture over 75, but basically every percentage you go over 75, the random number generation of will you get a puncture leans more and more to, well, maybe. We pick up another track limits warning there. We've already got the 3-second penalty, so that one isn't going to hurt us too much. I was confident I could stay clear of track limits for most of the rest of it. But that mistake we made 1 lap earlier that allowed Gloverino to stay 0.2 closer, now you can see has resulted in a 0.2 advantage for him, able to stay close enough through the third and first sector and make the overtake down into turn 8. Now we're going to try and stay with him and fight back on this one. And this is really what we didn't want to do with a set of tires that we need to be managing and nursing and taking really good care of. Getting into a tussle with another driver and having to push harder to keep him behind or push to try and make an overtake was really not the best situation for my strategy. It would have been much better for me to be able to just run in clean air by myself, 3 seconds ahead or behind of Gloverino, but it is what it is, so we just have to kind of do what we must. Cameron Slater, though, is into the pits with 15 seconds worth of time penalties, so we have now promoted up into the points-paying positions. We are 10th overall. Now, Cameron Slater is going to be on those medium tires, which are going to be in much better condition than what we've got on. So we will see what the timing delta is once he comes out, about 10 seconds just under that. But he does have a significant amount of time penalties compared to us. So even if he's able to catch us and overtake by the end of the race, I don't think he's going to make the 9 seconds to catch and overtake us, plus the 12 seconds he would need to be ahead of us in the standings. But here we are with the DRS once again. We've managed to stay close enough with El Gloverino to make another attack, and we cover him off through the first part of the chicane. He slots in, so we are able to take the apex, and he has a little bit of a wiggle getting out. So as soon as I saw that in my rearview mirror, it was instantly on the overtake button. Try and build the gap. If we can get outside of that 1 second margin from him, we might be able to have a little bit more relaxation, but we need to get there before the DRS zone, because the DRS zone down the front straight is worth about 0.3 of a second for Gloverino compared to me with no DRS. And down the back straight, it's worth about 4.5, nearly 5/10 of a second closing up, even if you try and build that gap. But here we are coming through the final corner. We've gotten it to 8/10, but he's in the DRS. So you see that 8/10 mark come down, 7/10, just about 6/10, on 5.5 under braking. So you can see he made 3.5 up on that one straight. And now all of a sudden he's right back at about 6/10. And we got to try and make another 4/10 through these corners. I was carrying, seemed to be making good time on him when I line these corners, but I've gone a little bit wide, not really hooked it up, but 7/10 and the detection line is right here. So he's 6/10 back at the detection point. I think at that point, he may be able to close up under DRS, but 6/10 is a little too much for him to overtake. But you can see 6/10 back at the detection point. Under braking, he closes to 2. So huge amount of time gained just by being in that DRS. And now that one burst of energy that we used to try and escape the DRS was unsuccessful. We're going to jump ahead now. Lap 22 of 27. That front left tire is on 60% wear. So we still got 5 laps left to go. Here comes El Gloverino with the DRS. He had finally, after hounding me lap after lap after lap, is able to make the move stick through turn 8 and 9. And we are going to try and chase him back down and get back past him on track. Cameron Slater has closed up to 4.3 seconds. You can notice we're up into 9th now. That is because Brenschel, you can see on the timing tower, is in 11th. He pitted for a set of fresh soft tires later in the race. So he is now also trying to chase us down, and he is now less than a second behind Cameron Slater, but he's got 9 seconds worth of penalties himself. We are still carrying those 3 seconds. So not only does he need to make up that 5 seconds to us, make an overtake of Cameron Slater, make an overtake of us, make an overtake of El Gloverino, he's also got to build a 6-second gap, which the soft tires at this stage, he's probably lapping in the low to mid 32s, and as we cross the line, we're lapping in the high 34s. So he's probably gaining 2.5 seconds or so a lap on us. So it is definitely close. He's already cleared Cameron Slater, who has picked up another time penalty just there. Went from 15 to 18 seconds of time penalties. So is definitely making his own day much harder. But El Gloverino really had a good run through Sector 1. You can see we're 8/10 behind him and really not going to be in any position to attack them. Front tires really starting to die off, making it very difficult to stay with him. So luckily we do have the help of the DRS to help us close back up. But I think he was running a little bit less wing than we were, and was able to make some good ground on the straights. We gained a couple of tenths under DRS, but not as powerful as what he was gaining behind now. I don't know how much energy he was using when he was closing up to us. We were trying to save what battery we could, because you only regain about 5% of your battery per lap by not running it. You can actually see for a second there, the tail light on El Gloverino's car was flashing, meaning he is under that 10% battery charge for a second there. Now, through Sector 3, this is where you regain almost all of your energy with all the corners and braking. Otherwise, you actually run basically negative through Sectors 1 and 2 on your ERS. It's all of your net for the lap is recharged in Sector 3. But we are going to go ahead and hold off on using it. Now, the more we can stay in this DRS of El Gloverino, if we may not be able to overtake and attack him once more, it is going to help us fend off Brenschel just a little bit longer, because even though he has all the grip from those soft tires, the straight line speed that we have is still unaffected as we pick up another warning. So now we're rolling on those 2 track limits warnings on the way to a second track limits penalty. So we need to be careful the rest of the way through this race. But El Gloverino up to 11 seconds of time penalties. So we're not worried about losing the position to El Gloverino. It's really about now Cameron Slater, 1.7 seconds back of us. So he should, through the final sector next time around, definitely catch up. If not, get near that DRS zone in the final sector here. He may catch us the next time we get on the main straight. But we're closing up just to, we're still 7/10 back of El Gloverino. Now we're kind of getting to a position now where we're in danger of losing the DRS off of El Glaverino. So we need to push a little bit through this final sector, make sure we stay within that 1 second margin as the front left tire just now ticks over 70% wear. So 5% more to go until we are going to be in the danger zone and having to really drive the tire carefully to make sure we don't put undue stress on it. But big scrub there. That is not going to be great for the health of the tire as Brenschel just pulls into the DRS range. We just stay inside the DRS range of El Glaverino. Brenschel now looks to have been just outside at the detection point as he is falling back on the straight, but he's well within that 1 second now and should have a very good opportunity to try and make a move on us down into the chicane. But we're staying right there with Glaverino. We're going to be within that DRS range of El Glaverino. So as long as we can get a good launch off of turn 7 and turn 6 here, which Brenschel does gain about a tenth or so on us, but I don't think it's going to be quite enough for him to have the overspeed. We're dumping a lot of battery and trying to grab what slipstream we can off of El Glaverino just to hold Brenschel off a little longer. And we actually managed to stay just about even, but we've gone a little deep on the braking into turn 8, and that's cost us a little bit of time. Brenschel really closing up now. We're going to utilize more of that overtake mode just to try and get to compensate for our bad run out of there as Brenschel's really going to have good grip into these sweeping right-handers. You can see how much he's able to close up. We're just trying to stay right with El Glaverino and make our car as wide as we possibly can. We're stay a little bit to the inside to go defensive, make sure Brenschel doesn't lunge up the inside there, and we are going to hold him off through turn 13. Is going to be just ahead as we break down, but we've gone fairly deep on the brakes, so we're going to lift off, get on the brakes early, let Brenschel take the outside line and overtake us cleanly. We've got the DRS help already, so we should be able to get right back up to speed, hopefully to close up to El Glaverino.
I didn't have a good angle.
But it is likely that little fight was not an ideal place to have that overtake happen. It cost both of us a fair bit of time. It won't be hard for Brenschel to close up to El Glaverino, but you can see Cameron Slater now just inside of 2 seconds back of us as we fall outside the 1 second margin of Brenschel. And I think at this point, it's unlikely that we will get in that DRS. We need a good run. It's 8 tenths, but it just goes to a second as we come through that corner, and we're going to be 1.1 back coming through the detection point. So no more DRS for us. Glaverino's got the tire advantage over us as our tire now gets over 75%. So we are in that puncture danger territory. 1.5 laps left to go in this race. And really we just need to try and drive it well enough if it doesn't puncture to stay within 6 seconds of Brenschel and stay within 7 seconds of El Glaverino. Cameron Slater will likely get past us on the final lap, but there's no way he's making 18 seconds on us. And to answer the question of why I didn't take a second pit stop and go again, I was banking on hopefully a safety car, but B, if I had taken the pit stop, even for a set of soft tires where I was at on the track, I would have been 100% guaranteed to be outside of the points. I would have been 11th at best. So it was just a case of either I pit and guarantee myself no points, or stay out.
Come on, tire.
If the tire punctures, then I was going to get no points if I pit anyway. Or if it holds up, then I can probably scrape together an 8th or 9th place finish based on the deltas. You can see El Glaverino now 2 seconds out ahead of me. Cameron Slater catching very rapidly as we're at 78% on that front left. And Cameron Slater with just so much more grip on those much less destroyed medium tires. He tries to stick his nose up the inside, not a smart place to do it. I'm just trying to will him to stay behind and do something sensible, because after forcing us off the track earlier, I was very concerned that he would go for a move when he has 20 seconds worth of time penalties over us, and the only person that would lose in that situation is me, because he's going to drop to the back of the field with his penalties. So I tried to just let him through as much as I could.
Makes me nervous.
I knew he was going to dash off ahead. I was trying to do it in a way to lose as little time to Brenschel ahead, who is streaking off on those soft tires. El Glaverino's at 3.7 seconds, and I can't see where Brenschel is at this point. Nemesis takes the race win right off the bat there. But Cameron Slater loses the rear end of the car. We try to go around and dodge him, and that actually sends us off track where we pick up another track limits penalty for the warning. That one, I will appeal to the stewards just because I was avoiding an incident and I was not going off the track. And I went through with half throttle, so I wasn't getting anything. But we are within 6 seconds of Brenchel. He crosses the line 5.1 seconds. With that extra time penalty, we're only 1.9 seconds back of him. So if we get that track limits penalty removed, we should be on for an 8th place finish. But there is Nemesis at the top step of the podium, helping out his championship lead. MJ Povey comes second. LC Fighter, a great drive to stay out of trouble, comes home in 3rd place on the podium. Showed really good pace. Started on the hard tires. Avoided all the early carnage. And just showed very good race pace. Went long on the hard tires and then went on to the softs at the end. And built a fairly good gap for himself while on the hard tires. So a good drive from him as well. We'll get a quick look at the full rundowns in a second here. But it was really a race of what could have been. Starting 5th, I think I could have performed much better if I had just not been crowded off the track repeatedly. But Nemesis with the win, MJ Povey in second, LC Fighter rounds out the podium and takes fastest lap for Aston Martin. Queasy is in 4th, Death Star 5th, Galley 6th, Habspan Nick 7th, Brenchel provisionally 8th, ourself in 9th, El Gloverino in 10th. And it looks like Pepmeister comes home 11th, Racer in 12th. Cameron Slater, with all those penalties, drops down to 13th behind everyone else. And Kieran is the only one to DNF from this race. But we are headed to Austria next week, where hopefully we will have a better turn of luck. And hopefully people will leave us a little bit more space when we're racing. But I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.